Go ahead. We're gonna see how this plays out, y'all.
These likes are looking strange. There's only 30 of us here. There was 200 and some odd faithful. I think that was I guess it was mostly the members at this point in time. Before we get started, I just want to, salute to a few people that we have. We have Parisa, that pretty girl. We have Pat Blair, the grandbaby. Hey Maria, Kat. We have Jay Mizak. We have a few other people. Tars is in the building. LA chick. Um,
Got the notifications. Yes.
okay. And we have someone new. Hello, Naomi. You know, A Reed is in the building. Um, the Davises are in the building. Just so everyone knows, uh, for those of you who don't know, or didn't know, or didn't see, we were infiltrated. Our live was infiltrated. Um, it was made unavailable. It was told to skip this video. Um,
Said retry. All the tricks of the trade. Yeah.
they did everything. They did everything. So here we are. We're back. We're gonna see how this plays out. Odell has some audio to play, and I'm glad because prayer does work. Odell has some audio to play, and uh, as much as I would like to put up there, well, there you go. Um,
I guess that's good enough.
Hopefully that doesn't anger the YouTube mob too much. And we'll see how long this lasts before they start messing with us again. So we're going to let Derek talk to you guys for a second.
And they blew emergency count. We had to go, and I thought it was a regular emergency count. And as the officers came up, and they said, Smith? I said, yeah. He goes, we need you to come up front. And I said, what's for? Well, what's going on? He goes, you got a writ for a court appearance. I said, I got nothing scheduled. And he goes, yeah, well, we just found this out. It was just given us yesterday. So again, it's something else happening the night before. They're not telling me anything. And there was Wayne County Sheriff deputies out there. They told me they're gonna shackle me up, strip me out, shackle me up, belly chains, and then handcuff me to my belly, chain all the way down to my ankle.
They put you in the box?
In the paddy wagon. Pardon?
They put you in the box?
Yeah, they put me in the back of a paddy wagon, a Wayne County Sheriff's Department paddy wagon. No visibility, no pads, no controls, nothing. Just a seat belt that didn't work, so I had to hold on to that for 3 hours. Slippery. It was just a slippery ride, all the way. And took me to the Wayne County office. Took me on the elevator. Walked me in right through the front door. Right through the front door. And took me right in. Took me directly to the office. And the office, the deputies who brought me in there, took me on a writ. Now, usually, you can only get a writ if it's to appear for an investigation or provide testimony or deposition. Or if you're going to court, that's what a writ is, W-R-I-T, to bring me down there to testify or this. But it was there with stacks and stacks and stacks of papers. Every single paper was every different form of the transcript. He goes, Mr. Cardello Smith. And I looked and I said, well, I don't see you on Zoom. It's first time we see each other in person. I go, yeah, in a long, long time. It's all been Zoom. 98. She goes, well, you haven't seen me for a while. I go, well, since 98. The last time I came. We had 3 different hearings, one in judge attendance court. She goes, yeah, that's what this is about. Because I told the clerk to not provide you with copies of the transcript. Somehow you managed to get them unsealed. And you got copies of them. She goes, I'll give you that. So I have every copy here. They went down to the Wayne County Clerk's office, the court stenographer, court report, took every copy on file. So they missed it in homicide files. They missed it. with under all the different names. Had them in there in front of them. I had to sit here and watch them shred every single copy. She destroyed them right in front of me. And said, because we are authorized to purge files, and I don't need these files or these transcripts anymore. I said, but those are transcripts showing that you framed it. She goes, yeah, that may be so, but you won't be able to obtain any more copies of them. Did you had your 2 members of the public go in and get them? Fine, I'll give you that. And then she said, now, while we have these copies destroyed, we can't destroy the copies that you put with your motions. You filed motions for relief from judgment of your sentences. You filed the 97 case, the 98 case, the 2008 case, the 2019 case, which I did. Because we can't destroy those copies. But we can destroy these. And that's what we're going to do. We're destroying these copies. So we will be able to get the judge who's hearing your 1998 case, we will be able to get her to deny it. And I said, so you're just verbally telling me? She goes, yeah, we destroyed the homicide files back in 2024. When you won. She goes, I'm not going to have you ruin what we got, what we put together. I'm not having this happen. And I said, all right. So she just literally destroyed every copy, every original copy. And I said, but you know what? The motions to dismiss and the motions for relief from judgment can still be gotten. She goes, yeah, but if your conviction's overturned or not overturned, then so be it. I said, this is amazing. She's just so arrogant. She starts bragging about how she's the boss and all this. And she goes, I don't know why you did what we did. I said, what do you mean you don't know why we did what we did? We had a deal. Well, that may be so. Now, the 2 deputies that took me down there, innocent guys, they're sitting there shot, stunned, and shot. And I said, you guys have no idea what you're involved in. He goes, hey, we're just doing our job. We don't want no more than that. She said, why don't you guys leave? And she had her other Wayne County sheriff deputies escort them out. Because Wayne County sheriffs are the ones that provide security for county prosecutors and all this. And, well, she destroyed them right in front of me. Just destroyed everything.
Okay, so that's just a portion of the conversation that we had with Derek Lee Cordello Smith the other day, and there shouldn't be any reason for them to, block or alter or try to trip on this broadcast. I edited it out. He never said who he sat with. You know what I'm saying? He never said. I took the name out purposely. But there's a lot more to the conversation, and I want to display it. I want to put it out there, but we're going to hold off. Maybe during this live, I may add. We may play a little bit more, but I mean, we got hours of conversations with him. So, yeah, what'd you say about the original certified copy is downloaded on? Yeah, exactly. So yeah, and we got ours as well. Yeah, y'all. So yeah, this is just a piece of the conversation that we had. I mean, if y'all heard what he said, and that sounds real. It sounds real nuts, right? Like it sounds like something out of a freaking one of these films where the bad guy just does all the bad stuff in front of you and tell you what the person's going to do, what they're going to do. But this definitely is injustice. This isn't what America's on. I think someone said it though. If you have the paper, if you have the money for the protection, legal protection, or you could bypass or skirt things legally, then yeah, I guess that's just what they're saying. So 10 men back in 97 invested a combination of $1.5 million to Sean Combs' Bad Boy. Derek Lee Cordello Smith just happened to be one of the 10 men. And in 10 years, I guess they were to renegotiate, all 10 of the guys were to renegotiate their, their deal. And I think, what did he say? By 97, no, by 2007, there were only four of the remaining 10 uh, investors left. And they had already framed him and put him in prison. And he's the only one left now. He's pretty much the only one available, only one alive. Everyone else is going bye bye. You there? You there, Jag? Okay, I guess not. Y'all can hear me though. I know y'all can hear me, right? Um, wait, what is this? Who you talking about? This person? Anyway, anyway, yeah. Oh, she wrote in the chat. Okay, I didn't even see. Let me look through. But for the most part, y'all, yeah, that's the conversation. I do want to play more. I just don't want to play anything that isn't edited because he, he says a few names. I'm not going to put the names out there just yet. You know, everything that I do, it's it's strategic. There's no need for me to um put it out there like that. But he did mention a few people's names. We're just not going to say it. But I have an article here, and I was doing research on this as well about the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office purging documents. And I mean, I think the law in Michigan, when it comes to purging of particular documents, you're not supposed to do them um, like if if um, if there's an ongoing case, um, especially in homicide, you have to, what is it? You you have to, for criminal records, I guess. Um, oh no, well, I'm actually looking up something. They're talking about criminal records expunging, but no, we're not talking about expunging. The actual purging of physical documents. So, yeah, I guess the offices, they have the right to purge documents. Um, but let me read this. I'm actually going to read the article that was here in Detroit News, where yeah, they basically, this was an issue. This whole Detroit shredding of homicide articles. I mean, I'm sorry, homicide documents. You know, they say prosecutors are required to retain the files for the defendants serving life sentences for at least 50 years or until the inmate dies. So that's the law. So here we have the Wayne County prosecutor Kim Worthy, and we have the mayor. I believe he's still the mayor, Mike Dugan. And I guess they're like blaming one another on who could do what, because the issue here is Wayne County illegally destroyed criminal files. And they say allegedly when the mayor was elected prosecutor, creating a staggering obstacle for wrongly convicted inmates seeking to prove their innocence. This is what the article says. So this was in between 2001 and 2004, while the mayor was prosecutor. Most, if not all, misdemeanor and felony records from 95 and earlier were allegedly removed from an off-site warehouse and destroyed. And this is in violation of their law, the state law. So yeah, they do all types of stuff. They do all types of things. So my thing is, yeah, you say tampering with evidence. Yeah, y'all hit the like button, please. Definitely hit the like button. Um, let's listen again. I think I'll run it again. I'll run it back. If you guys want to hear what had happened or what was done in front of Derek Lee Cordello Smith the other day, because I mean, it just seems like they have a problem with purging documents, getting rid of evidence, things like that. In Michigan, the prosecutors are required to retain the files for defendants serving life sentences for at least 50 years or until the inmate dies. But records, they basically contain a lot of information: police forensic reports, lab results, transcripts, video recordings, witness statements, all which are essential for defense or mounting a defense for wrongful conviction. So the purge wasn't reported, but that newspaper right here, Metro Times, they learned about it in recent interviews for an ongoing series about wrongful convictions. So yeah, if y'all want me to run it back again, I'll run the audio back again. Go ahead, Jack.
Thanks for holding it down for me and getting everybody up to speed on, you know, where we are with things. I have to apologize. I needed to step away for a second because before we came live, I was having a conversation with someone and I was speaking about some of my own experiences, my incredible experiences of things that shouldn't happen, that seem to happen. So, like I put in the chat, this is a little triggering for me. We're here, we're listening. Odell, please continue.
Yeah, they want to hear the audio again. I'll go ahead and play it.
And they flew emergency count. We had to go, and I thought it was a regular emergency count. And then some officers came up, and they said, Smith? I said, yeah. He goes, we need you to come up front. And I said, what's going on? He goes, you got a writ for a court appearance. I said, I got nothing scheduled. And he goes, yeah, well, we just found this out. It was just given us yesterday. So again, it's something else happening the night before, and they're not telling me anything. And it was Wayne County Sheriff deputies out there. They told me they're gonna shackle me up, strip me out, shackle me up, belly chains, and then handcuff me to my belly, chain all the way down to my ankles.
They put you in the box. They put you in the box.
Yeah, they put me in the back of a paddy wagon, a Wayne County Sheriff's Department paddy wagon. No visibility, no pads, no controls, nothing. Just a seat belt that didn't work, so I had to hold on to that for 3 hours. Slippery. It was just a slippery ride, all the way. And took me to the Wayne County office. Took me on the elevator. Walked me in right through the front door. Right through the front door. And took me right in. Took me directly to the office. And the office, the deputy who brought me in there, took me on a writ. Now, usually, you can only get a writ if it's to appear for an investigation or provide testimony.
Yeah, we'll see if the writ was in pacer.
That's what a writ is. WRIT. Bring me down.
I
Testify
doubt
or
it.
but it was
Right.
there with stacks of papers. Every single paper was every different form of the transcript. He goes, Mr. Cordello Smith. I looked and I said, well, I don't see you on Zoom. It's first time we've seen each other in person. I go, yeah, in a long, long time. It's all been Zoom. I ain't seen you since 98. She goes, well, you haven't seen me for a while. I go, well, since 98. The last time I seen you. We had 3 different hearings, one in Judge Tennant's court. She goes, yeah, that's what this is about. Because I told the clerk to not provide you with copies of the transcripts. Somehow you managed to get them unsealed. And you got copies of them. She goes, I'll give you that. So I have every copy here. They went down to the Wayne County Clerk's office, the court's stenographer court reporter's office, took every copy on file. So they missed it in homicide files. They missed it. It was under all the different names. Had them in there in front of them. I had to sit here and watch them shred every single copy. She destroyed them right in front of me. I said, this is zero authorized purge files, and I don't need these files for these transcripts anymore. I said, those are showing that you framed it. He goes, yeah, that may be so, but you won't be able to obtain any more copies of them. If you had two members of the public go in and get them, fine, I'll give you that. And then she said, now, while we have these copies destroyed, we can't destroy the copies that you put with your motions. You filed motions for release from judgment of their sentences. You filed the 97 case, the 98 case, the 2000 case, and the 2019 case, which I did. She goes, we can't destroy those copies, but we can destroy these. And that's what we're going to do. We're destroying these copies. So we will be able to get the judge who's hearing your 1998 case, we will be able to get her to deny it. And so you're just telling me, yeah, we destroyed the homicide files back in 2024 when you won. He goes, I'm not going to have you ruin what we got, what we put together. I'm not having this happen. And I said, all right. So she just literally destroyed every copy, every original copy, every original copy. And I said, but you know what? The motions to dismiss and the motions for release and judgment can still be gotten. She goes, yeah, but if your conviction's overturned or not overturned, then so be it. I said, this is amazing. She's just so arrogant. She starts bragging about how she's the boss and all this. And she goes, I don't know why you did what we did. I said, what do you mean you don't know why we did what we did? We had a deal. Well, that may be so. Now, the two deputies who took me down there, innocent guy, they're shot, stunned, and shot. I said, you guys have no idea what you're involved in. He goes, hey, we're just doing our job. We don't want no more than that. And she said, why don't you guys leave? And she had her other Wayne County sheriff deputies
Can we
escort them
take a
out.
break?
Because Wayne County sheriffs are the ones that provide security.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, it just had 10 other seconds. But no, yeah, I know this is peeing some people off. I totally get it.
I'm sorry I had to take a moment of silence for our Constitution. You know, right, LA chick? Here we are. All of us together. Here we are. Um, on one hand, we have a criminal record of an individual that that has been labeled and branded on court record and public record as the most terrible kind of human being in the world. And on the other hand, we have documents and actual testimony of a person who is asserting the fact that they have been falsely accused. And everything else that's in between those two things is where court of public opinion lives, social media lives, news outlets live, bloggers live. Am I wrong, Odell?
No.
So, usually, how it works is whoever can control or manipulate successfully the in between is usually who wins. Correct?
Yeah.
Um, See, this is the thing, Kat. We can sit here and we can say these things all we want. We can say them all we want. We can say it until all high heaven. We can say it all the way to hell if we choose. We can say it from the top of every mountain or from the bottom of every ocean. We can say these things. See, that's the problem, Bethany. If you are saying that you've lost your faith in the court system, your faith was misplaced. See, that's what makes people like me such a problem. See, right now in this very moment, there are people that are monitoring our conversations here on this channel. Y'all know that. And they are plotting. They are. And yet, here I sit, another person who's been falsely accused, another person who's been gaslit, another person who's been wrongfully um, detained, held against my will. I've, not to the extent that Derek has gone through it. And once again, he has a conviction. If they put it on paper, if they put a seal on it, you got to fight against that. Now, y'all have heard me say on several occasions, what's bigger, God or your problems? See, this is where the enemy wins. They trick you into getting angry. They trick you into believing that man wins overall. It's bad enough that we covered the Hadley case and that we're still on it, and we have an update, and we'll share that update before we're done today. Um, but us covering this, most people would say if she was smart, she would just mind her business. She's had enough trouble. Why is she worried about this? This doesn't even have anything to do with her. Hasn't she lost enough? Hasn't she gone through enough? Haven't they lost enough? Aren't they going through enough? But if it gets to the point where people can bully you out of the purpose that God made you for, there's absolutely no reason in the world why anybody should be afraid of telling the truth. Now, I want y'all to ask me something. As explosive as the Hadley case was, and as unsettling as the curious case of Derek Lee Cordello Smith is, why isn't why aren't any other content creators talking about this? See, let's not pretend like they don't all watch my content. Let's not pretend like they don't all use my content. Let's not pretend like they don't all listen to the things that I have to say and then turn around and pretend like they came up with it themselves. Let's not pretend. See, when they were busy framing me and staging me to look like a maniac so the public wouldn't believe anything that I say or believe that I was crazy, so you can't believe everything that I say, so you don't know whether or not I'm telling the truth or maybe I'm making it all up or whatever the case may be. When they were busy doing all of that, oh, they followed everything that I said and everything that I did. But now all of a sudden, what was it that somebody said the other day? She's not fun anymore because she's not jagging out anymore. Do you know what they meant when they would say that she's jagging out? It was their code for we've gaslit her. We're about to drive her crazy. We're winning. I want y'all to think about that. There was a content creator by the name of Andre Turner Jr. who sat here and said, I'm not going to cover anything regarding Jaguar Wright unless she's losing her mind or getting thrown in jail. Then I'll cover that. I'm curious, as many people that use my name, as many people that follow me, why don't they ever follow any of this? Why don't they?
Yeah, because it doesn't fit. It doesn't fit their audience, their narrative. The narrative, like you say, was to gaslight you and to get you to react in a unpleasant way.
And for my
So that
own protection and safety, sometimes I had to play along so that I could get to the bottom of what was going on. You know, all of these content creators, they get to make their content, but they don't ever talk about anything real, do they? They like to tell you the broad points, they like to tell you the this, the that, the salacious stuff, just enough to get you there, just enough to get you there, but there's never any resolve. Is there? I want you to think about all the stories these people cover. There's never any conclusion. To talk about all of the antics, to talk about all of this, to talk about all of that, the whoopty whoopty woo, and the yada yada yada. But we never get conclusions, do we?
no,
How do any of these stories end? The stories never end. It just moves on to the next tragedy, and the next tragedy, and the next tragedy until someone either passes away, ends up in penitentiary, or something like that. And then they talk about it, and then boom, they sweep it under the rug. Welcome, Shalonda. Why can't we ever get the end of the story? I want you guys to think about how this story, how Derek's story came online. It came on, yes, my computer read. It came online The information got out there. And see, now when I look back, it's very clear why it went the way that it went. See, they knew that they weren't going to be able to disguise Derek's court filings and his hearings on Pacer. They knew people were going to be able to see it. And that might make people curious and people might start digging. So instead, what they did was they put a couple content creators on it, and then they allowed those content creators to say, this sounds crazy. This sounds insane. To invalidate it so you would no longer be interested in it. And then, yes, Pacer is a site where you can get legal documents. It's funny, there's so many content creators that have Pacer accounts. A lot of them have Pacer accounts. That's how they get their breaking news. They sit there and they read Pacer all day long so that they can come online and they can tell their stories and then they can spin their narratives. Yet, with all of that access to all of those legal filings, we never get a conclusion, do we?
Nor are they trying to produce justice.
So, once again, why does nobody want to follow this story through? Now, for over a year now, people have been running down on Diddy content. People have been running down. Matter of fact, the way it was set up here in this construct, YouTube, the way it was set up here was you couldn't say anything bad about the Carters or Rock Nation. Otherwise, your content would be suppressed or taken down, or there would be strikes on your channel, or they would take your channel altogether. And people could say whatever crazy thing they wanted to say about Diddy. Am I wrong?
Nope. Hold on, I'm gonna get
It was
another clip ready.
It was run down on Diddy, run down on Diddy, run down on Diddy. Can't say anything bad about Rock Nation. Can't say anything bad about the Carters. Can't expose anything true. Can't talk about anything like that. But now, all of a sudden, that Diddy's trial is over, and he was convicted of the two lesser charges because he got off on the big charges, which makes him essentially innocent, even though he's actually guilty. Like, it's crazy. Now he's charged. Now he's on the SA offender registry list for life. Tell me something. How does an innocent man end up on the SA offender registry list for life if he's so innocent? I don't know what you're playing in the background, but are we protecting those who need to be protected? Odell,
Yeah,
you,
yeah.
should we mute up until we're sure that we're not playing nobody that we shouldn't be playing? Like, let's be clear on that. Let's keep it real. Hmm? Let's keep it all the way real. Everybody was allowed to talk crazy about Diddy. Everybody was allowed to say everything. Everybody kept hashtagging no Diddy, no Diddy. It was no Diddy, it was no Diddy, it was no Diddy. And then boom, we get to the trial. And then next thing you know, everybody's a Diddy believer. Oh, well, they're not proving anything. Oh, well, he didn't do anything wrong. Oh, he didn't do anything that bad. Oh, it's not this, it's not that. It isn't. I hear what you're saying, TT, but see, this is the problem. That's what they want. They want us to sit there and wish harm on that person. They want us to sit there and do that. Cause see, now that gives it, oh, they just hate him. They're just jealous. They're just this. They're just that. I'm not interested in getting into that. I'm not. See, the devil likes you to come down to his level. We got to take it to a whole nother level. And I'm not talking, oh, if they go low, we go high. I'm not talking about that. Because that's a cute cliche statement, but it's a cliche statement, you know? See, if Diddy deserves justice or if Diddy deserves grace, he's just a human being. Why doesn't everybody else? See, that's the problem that I have with all of this, especially when it comes to Derek Lee Cordell Smith. That's the problem that I have. We've heard all kinds of monstrous things that the diddler has done, all kinds of monstrous things, just terrible things. Now, people think that just because he wasn't charged with something in court means he's not guilty. Not true. I know plenty of people that get away with all kinds of things because they never get charged. And do you want to know how what? You were very disappointed with the judge on the sentencing. Why, Martha? He charged for what he was found guilty on. See, that was the point. And the wild thing is he's doing the best that he can to make sure that there's some kind of punishment. Because the truth is, look at how many people all of a sudden came out of nowhere. Came out of nowhere. Let him go. Let him be. Give him the free. They wanted to treat him like he was homicide. Give Diddy free. Give Diddy free. He looked at other cases under that charge. The government wanted one thing, the people wanted another. He cut it down the middle. He did what he needed to do to protect his bench. See, that's the problem with law enforcement. That's the problem with the law overall. When these hot button cases come along, if they're going to continue doing their job, if they're not retiring after that case, they still got to work with people. They got another case. They got to work with prosecutors. They got another case. They got to work with this person. They got another case. They got to work with this person. They got another case. They got to do it, you know? Do you know how many lawyers don't take certain cases because they know if they follow through and do the right thing, it's going to screw up the rest of their career? So the only thing that they can do is split it, cut it, play it like it's all a negotiation. But that's funny because freedom is supposed to be so much more than that. And so is justice. They say that justice is blind, that Lady Justice is blind, meaning, you know, it's unbiased. It's a lie. Lady Justice is blind because that bitch don't see a fucking thing, so they can get away with everything. That's why Lady Justice is blind, so that the bad guy can get away with everything, in my opinion. If Diddy is so deserving of forgiveness because he's learned his lesson after being in jail for a year, not quite a year and a month. Derek has been in jail for 28 years. If Diddy was able to learn his lesson after all of these years of screwing up and screwing around for all of this time and then finally getting popped, and if he was able to learn his lesson in a year, then after 28 years, Derek hasn't learned from his mistakes. And he's spoken with us and he's been very honest about what he's done wrong. Listening to him take accountability for what he's done wrong in his past has been a very humbling experience. Humbling for me because even when I want to let him know, hey, stop being so hard on yourself and stop beating up on yourself. Plenty of people have made a mistake. Plenty of people have done wrong. You don't have to keep beating yourself up. He refuses to even take that grace. He's very quick to say no.
Let me
I
drop
think
another. I'm sorry. When you're ready,
no.
let me drop another clip because somewhat of a continuation of what he was speaking on earlier, and I can stop and pause it
Okay,
if you
well,
want. But this this
it's
attests to
enough
what you were just
commentary.
saying.
It's enough commentary. Let's take a listen. Let's hear from Derek a little bit.
Yeah. So she's literally bragging, and she said, we destroyed all the homicide files. And I asked her, I said, well, the law says you have to keep those for 55 years. You're the top law enforcement officer in Wayne County. She goes, so? What about it? When she said so, it just took me right back to 98. You know, this time we're in her world. And I saw an officer there who's an ally of mine. He's not an enemy, so he understood. So I knew I was okay. I had somebody there that wasn't going to let anything bad take place. And um, she said, we cannot have any of this come out. We don't want this to come out. You're making me look bad, my office look bad. So I said, that's all you care about is your image. That's all you care about. And she goes, what else is there to care about? Me, my money. And she goes, Sean is especially different now. She goes, I don't know what you did to him, but he's different. And I said, it's not about him. You're destroying files. You're destroying evidence. She goes, so who's going to charge me? Maybe she's just caught up in this. Who's going to charge me? She goes, we destroyed your credibility. We destroyed who you were. And you somehow managed to weasel these transcripts out of her. I said, weasel? She goes, yeah. I go, no, what it is some employees followed the law. And that's how I got it, because members of the public can come get it. And she goes, well, they won't be getting these anymore. And I said, well, what about my motion? She goes, oh, well, they can still get those. Those are attached. And I said, that's still the original record. She goes, well, whatever. I don't care about that. You're just here now. And I destroyed it. So what? What are you going to do about it?
Pause.
And I was just feeling that old anger again, you know?
Can we pause?
Yeah.
We've been teeter-tottering with the people in the room. Can we please get 100 more likes? Now, I am obligated to say that all of these claims are alleged because I was not there in person. But this is the testimony of another human being who experienced something, and he's speaking as his First Amendment right to give his account of what he experienced yesterday. This happened yesterday, making me look bad, making my office look bad. You know, it's funny. Didn't Demore say the same thing about her case when she said, she knew that her mother was never going to stop. And that's why she went forward with it because she knew her mother was only going to care about her image. And in some of the court filings for Demore Hadley and, versus, Desiree Perez, Rock Nation, and Sig Nine, and so forth and so on. Yes, all of this happened yesterday. What you're listening to happened yesterday. Yesterday. After my interview on Real Life came out, to which they're trying to slow down drastically, to which there's all kind of other hoopla going on while everybody tries to miss this story. This was yesterday. Oh, we didn't make that clear.
Well, I said a few days ago, but I was just being vague. But we still have conversations from a few days back.
Yeah.
This is this and we haven't even gotten to that, but we will when we roll everything out.
The question is, seeing that the way things are going here, maybe it would be best. Like, I'm not trying to make it sound too important. I'm not trying to put too many dubs on it. I'm not trying to make it seem like, what we do over here rocks the world. But it's the documents that I read on the Blue Couch were issued September 23rd. Ain't nobody bother to come and see him then. Ain't nobody write no writ to have him drug out of jail to meet with him in person. Wasn't nobody destroying copies and evidence and getting rid of everything. Then I find it interesting. You know, yeah, I can believe that because that's what they do. They take these people and they prop them up and they give them a bunch of awards and they acknowledge them for this and they acknowledge them for that to make them look better on paper. Meanwhile, we're sitting here listening to Derek, who is sharing a lot of information with us, attesting to the fact that they put a lot of things on him to make him look terrible. As you heard what he said, his testimony will say that it's alleged because we weren't there and because we weren't a part of the conversation. We're just sharing
Yeah.
this perspective of what happened.
Yeah.
But from his perspective of what happened, it was said to him, go ahead. Let's let Derek speak for himself.
And I was just feeling that old anger again, you know. And I told her, I said, well, things are different.
Odell, the audio cut out. Can you guys hear me? Odell?
Yeah, again, that phone, I told you it was overheating. It's all right.
Then we'll take a break.
No, no, no. I'm on the other one. Don't worry about it. I can run it. Come on. Don't trip. Let me let this run again.
And I was just feeling that old anger again, you know? And I told her, I said, well, things are different this time. She goes, what do you mean? I said, things are different. You're a proven liar. People know Sean Combs is a liar. I know you're a liar. Many here know you're a liar. She goes, only some of them. She goes, it ain't know enough to shut up. She goes, and we told shut up or else too. She goes, don't worry about it. We have them on lock. The terms you use, we got them on lock. And I said, okay. So all I have now is my motion for relief from judgments and motions to dismiss conviction and my successive motions for relief from judgment. That's where you file a motion in the criminal case asking for them to give you relief from that judgment of death. She says, yeah. And she goes, I don't know how you were able to piece it all together about how we did the case. I was like, well, it wasn't rocket science. It was right there. I was in the room when you guys said you were doing this. She goes, well, I didn't think it would ever come back. But I should figure this
Odell,
in
it keeps cutting
2024
in
when
and
I
out
get
for
rid of
me.
it.
I don't know if it's doing that for everyone else.
Go ahead. It's playing. It's playing straight.
Okay, then maybe it's just on my end.
And
Okay,
it
everyone
said,
else is saying
yep,
this
those
kind
right.
of.
What do you mean? So she destroyed it?
So I don't know how you were able to piece it all together about how we did the case. I was like, well, it wasn't rocket science. It was right there. I was in the room when you guys said you were doing this.
It sounds cool now.
She goes, well, I didn't think it would ever come back. But I should have took care of this in 2024 when I took care of the rape and homicide file.
Well, I'll just bleep
What do
that
you
out.
mean? So she destroyed it?
No. When she released the results to me,
Yeah.
she said I should have destroyed that too. That's what she said. She should have destroyed it. She goes, I honestly thought that they were just going to drop it off. It was the same paddy wagon that picked me up. That's how they deliver evidence to the facility. They pick it up as they're picking prisoners up throughout the entire state. They have to go here. Their job to go prison to prison to pick people up. So I thought you were just going to have a hearing and not sign and just sign up because you said the officers in Brooks told her that prisoners can't have the kids. So we're just do a mail rejection and a property rejection hearing and asked him to send it home or destroy it. So I assured her that I would cooperate and have it be destroyed. She goes, make your me on that. I said, yeah, I know I fought you on it because I have a right to not have it. She goes, well, the misconduct report that we had our friends do discredited you. I said, really? She goes, yeah, okay. What about the real misconduct report on November 18th? She goes, what? I go, yeah, what about that? She goes, we don't have a record of that. I go, that's beautiful. I said, I've had that record of pristine condition for years. Passed out. She goes, well, it can't be out. They assured me. I said, so the devil is shocked that other devil workers lied to him. I'm not the devil. I go, well, you're not a woman of God either. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
Odell, pause.
Well, that's it. That's all
Okay.
for now.
Well, because some of the audio it cut out, I think. Can you guys
Well,
hear us?
said no audio. You guys hear no audio?
Well, the audio was clear,
Yeah,
and
it was. Then what happened?
then it went out and came back.
I mean, I can play it again, but
Let's let's give it a break. Let's not give them a reason to pummel us too hard. Um, Why don't you want to weigh in for a second? Because see, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to manage my emotions. I'm not trying to speak from an emotional place. Don't want to be emotional. I don't want to start jagging out.
No, no, you're not gonna start quote unquote jagging out. I spoke on this earlier in regards to the injustice. You know, so I mean, this guy has a clear case that he can prove that he's been framed, he's been set up, and we talked about it earlier in regards to the uh, evidence, unsubstantiated evidence, all that, the claims, all this or whatever. He has clear cut proof of his innocence and what had happened. You know, they tried to discredit his story by, saying, "Oh, this guy is coming out suing Sean Combs." It sounds ridiculous. That's why I brought up the USA Today case because it looks like they're going to have to. I think they're going to rule on that case real soon.
Yeah.
And the reason why they enjoined they enjoined on him is because it was like, oh well, his claims sound ridiculous. His claims are not real. He's coming up with stuff frivolous. But if you just go back, you give a person the benefit of the doubt. I always say that. You just give a person the benefit of the doubt, and he's shown, at least in my opinion, that is at least worthy of listening to. Now let everyone else, you let the general public see what's on display. And if you got situations like this where he's being called in for writs, where they call him in and they're destroying stuff in front of him, things like this is according to him, right? Um, it
We'll say
sounds like,
allegedly for the
yeah,
record.
yeah, exactly. Just for the record, it sounds like, yeah, there's some funny things going on behind the scenes. That's just what it sounds like, and I think there needs to be uh, Department of Justice needs to be looking into this, in my opinion. Um, and the only thing we can do is, you know, just shine a little light on it. That's it. So, like I said, don't no need to get emotional or like what they say, you jag out. And it's just really just about you're doing your job. You're doing what you're supposed to do, which is, you shine light um, on particular situations. I mean, for hell, we talked about yesterday where they tried to frame you in a case that, by the grace of God, you were in jail at the time and you were able to show I couldn't have couldn't have been nowhere near that location. You know, if they've done it to him, they try to do it to you, they'll try to do it to anyone.
Does nobody not? And that's the other thing. I'm still trying to figure out how everyone keeps pretending like that didn't happen.
Yeah. No, people are running around here like, oh well, that happened. Oh, because like I
Jag,
said, they were
oh
so
my
quick.
God, Jag, for about 2 weeks straight, I had people saying, we knew you were guilty. We knew you were working with Diddy. We knew that's why you know everything that you know because you're guilty. You did that to that girl. Jag is a monster just like Diddy. Jag is this, Jag is that for about 2 weeks straight. For about 2 weeks straight. Am I wrong, Odell?
Nah,
For about 2 weeks straight, I had people telling me I deserve to go to hell, people telling me I'm going to die screaming, people calling me a rapist. I had people saying all kinds of things about me, and I had to take that on the chin. People further defaming my character. People saying, well, if she's guilty of this, she must be guilty of that. I'll never forget the first time they tried to put a fake, bride and grooming something on me. It was Storm Monroe. Yeah. Back in what, 2020? A guy named Young Muhammad from Dallas who was associated with Erica Badu. Tasha K, I believe she offered him 3,000 or $3,000 to $5,000 to go online with Storm Monroe and to say that when he had come to Philadelphia with Nay Rock when she came to Black Lily, and I had to pretty much make sure she was escorted off the stage because she was doing a little bit too much. Coco's still in her feelings about that. Jasmine Sullivan was a girl. She had to go to school in the morning. She was there to perform that night. Her mother had to call me, God rest her soul, and say, Jag, they just letting her go on and on and on. Jasmine needs her time on stage. We've been sitting here waiting and she won't get off stage. I had to get out of my bed. I was pregnant, get out of my bed, drive all the way down from City Avenue down to Old City, park my car, double park my car on the curb, and walk up there and tell this grown woman who was a visitor who wasn't supposed to be doing more than 3 songs max, who sat up there for almost an hour, and Amir would move her around because he was worried about appeasing Erica, who wasn't even there. I had to come and get up on the stage and say, yeah, no, no, no. You're not a part of the actual cast here. It's time for you to go on. It's time for Jasmine to get on stage. See, I've been like this. So they decided they was going to try to get back at me. It was funny because I'll never forget when I first moved to Dallas and somebody came to me and asked me, did that really happen? Yeah, that really happened. And it's funny because in order for somebody who wasn't there, who didn't know me, to repeat that story, there was only 4 people after almost 20 years that would have even been able to tell that story. So for somebody, so I knew exactly who it was. It was crazy. So they decided to get a young man who was trying to intern and get on and become, famous, who had been suing every major rapper for absolutely nothing just so he could. That was his thing. That was Young Muhammad's thing. He would go, he sued Rick Ross, he sued Jay-Z, he sued a bunch of people so that he could get his name on Pacer, just so that he could make it into some kind of article or some kind of video or some kind of thumbnail. And they went to him, Tasha K went to him and asked him to go live with Storm Monroe and lie and say while he was 17 years old in Philadelphia with Coco. And let's just be clear, it was more likely that he was messing with her very grown ass, traveling across country with her at 17 years old, being a bride and groomed by her. It was more likely that that happened with her than it ever could have possibly happened with me. He got online and tried to lie and tried to finger me as that. They were trying to make me look like I was some kind of PDFer. This was back when I was still associating with Nosy Ho Live. And we invited him to come. And I questioned him myself, tripped him up, because while he was busy talking about the experience that he had with how I was coming to him and what I was doing to him, the one thing that he had forgotten was that I was pregnant with my youngest born son, Sam. He was describing me. I was asking him what I was wearing, and he was telling me what my figure looked like, and all of this and all of that. And I was like, "Yeah," I said, "You know what? You talking about a lot of stuff, but the one thing that you missed is my stomach because I was pregnant." Now, what happened? And then he had to sit there live online and admit that he was lying on me. And guess what? He didn't have such a hard time doing it because Erica Badu stiffed him. I'm sorry, Tasha K, allegedly on behalf of Erica Badu, they stiffed him. They never paid him because when they were trying to get him, when Storm Monroe was trying to get him in the story and get it going and get him to say a bunch of salacious things about me, he didn't have a heart to do it. He couldn't go through it all the way. So because he didn't trash me the way they wanted him to trash me, because he didn't lie on me the way they wanted him to lie on me, they didn't pay him. We ended up getting Nosy Ho's audience to tip him out and to get him some money for being decent enough to tell us the truth. Want to know what's even funnier? There was another content creator who used to think he was friends with Armand Wiggins, some weirdo that wears a Burger King crown all the time. He actually went and found a guy who was stalking me in real life before I left Philadelphia, trying to make his bones with Rock Nation. Sure enough. And he got online. I didn't meet this young person until he was in his late 20s. I think he was about 26, going on 27. I was in my 30s, my late 30s. Now, they hired him to come online and sit on that Burger King weirdo channel and lie and say that I was bride and grooming him and in an sexual relationship with him when he was 16 years old. Recently, last year actually, last summer, they tried to push that. Sure did. Want to know what's funny? Couldn't have been possible. Number one, I didn't meet him until 10 years after they got him to lie and say that I was doing stuff to him when he was 16 years old. But the thing is when he was 16 years old, he had a high school girlfriend who he got pregnant. They became parents when they were very young. He was living with his mama then, and he was living with his mama when I met him. How did I meet him? Through my deceased son Giovanni's close friend who was managing him. And they asked me if I would come to the studio and help him develop as a rapper. He has some talent, just didn't have the discipline. He was too busy pretending to be a PIMP, convincing unfortunate Black girls to do terrible things with their bodies up Roosevelt, in the cheap motels up Roosevelt Boulevard in Philadelphia. And occasionally, you know, ending up in car chases with people powing him, trying to, you know, take him down while he was riding around in that same baby mom car. Now, for all the things that I tried to do for him to help him out, see, we did date, but he was an adult. But he was so thirsty to have himself a moment that he was willing to get online and lie and say that I took advantage of him when he was 16 years old. Not even possible. But guess what? That weirdo in that Burger King mask with that very, very, very heavily receded foreline, a hairline, while he's busy talking about my edges. Guess what? Only 2.5 months ago, he was sitting on his very irrelevant backup channel, telling people that he had the receipts of the 16-year-old boy that I raped and took advantage of, and took pictures that I shared with that young man from almost a decade ago, and showed it as proof to say this was the material I was sending him when he was a kid. Lying, lying. That's all it takes. Somebody who's committed to lie, and they'll do it. They'll lie on you. And guess what? Imagine what that feels like when it's coming from a prosecutor. Imagine what that feels like when it's coming from a judge. Imagine what that feels like when it's coming from all of the fans of a billionaire. Imagine what that's like. Imagine what it's like for your record online to be marred. To be marred. Number one, anybody who will go out of their way to accuse somebody of doing something they never did, like my daddy always said, if somebody is accusing you of doing something that you didn't do 9 times out of 10, it's because they're doing it. I want y'all to think about that lawsuit that they tried to put me in. Why does nobody talk about that? The only content creator that was decent enough to try to vindicate me was Kadisha Lynn. And salute to her. Kadisha Lynn actually went online, did the research, looked at my social media, pulled up clips from my Instagram where the people who were supposed to be my friends at that time in my life said, Jag is in jail. We're trying to raise money. They had free t shirts that they were selling to raise money for me to put on my bond to get me out. And that was back when they were holding me on $150,000 bond. So that means it would have took 15 racks for me to bond out. I wasn't going to ask my family to do that. Matter of fact, I didn't want them to. Instead, I chose to sit in jail. I was like, no, I'm not giving them $15,000. I'm just going to fight to get to my trial. I'm not going to inconvenience my family with something that I know I'm not guilty of and that I can beat, that I will beat, that I did beat. Even though I ended up losing custody of my son because I lost my home. My family got evicted from the place because the lawyer that we had, that ended up becoming the judge in family court anyway, convinced my mom not to pay the rent and give her the money because she was going to make sure everything happened. And then instead, when they went to court, she quit and turned it over to a guardian ad litem. So she walked away with the rent money and my family was evicted. So I didn't have a place. This is how the system works. This is how the system works. See, they find the weak links in your life and then they collapse them. And if you don't have a strong support system, you're left at mercy to the system. See, I've been living through all kinds of hell for years. So when I look at Derek's evidence, when I look at what he's shown and he's shared, it takes a lot for me not to allow my emotions to creep in. It's hella triggering. So I want y'all to think about that case. They took a lawsuit that had been on file for 5 months. They put Ashley Parham in that documentary with Natanya Rubin. You have two lawyers. One, Sean R. Perez, who apparently is committed to putting my name in as many false litigations as he possibly can. Like the truth is he shouldn't be a lawyer at all, in my opinion. Not at all. Like, how are you a lawyer and you have a case? Because, see, in order for them to do what they did to Ashley Parham's case, they would have to have not cared about that case at all. Like, they filed that case with the court, right? They're supposed to be suing Diddy to get justice for this girl. And you gonna go and you're gonna put my name in it for something that I didn't do, that I couldn't have done. Do you hear anybody apologizing to me? People want to talk about unsubstantiated claims. What's more unsubstantiated than somebody being in jail fighting a case for a crime they didn't commit? To blame them for another crime they didn't commit. The detail that they put into it. Driving people across state lines from Nevada to California, holding people against their will. I mean, they went out of their way to try to make me sound like I was an absolute monster. Saying that I suggested to assault her with the remote control. And I said, get the remote control. She gonna learn today. That's what they said I said. That's what they said I said. That's what Sean R. Perez and Adriel Mitchell, who was Adriel Mitchell kid this time last year, now Ariel Mitchell. She was Ariel Mitchell kid last year, and now she's dropped a married name and she's just back to Mitchell. That's what they did. That's what they did. These are officers of the court, one of which has a history of offering to pay people to lie on people for the purposes of shaking them down for money in court. I want y'all to think about that. Sean R. Perez and Ariel Mitchell, formerly known as Ariel Mitchell Kid, went on court documents and said that I was a part of brutalizing a young woman I've never met when I was sitting in jail halfway across the country, and I could not have possibly have done it for another crime I didn't commit. Is anybody not seeing a theme here? I was able to be innocent and for it to be clear that I was innocent because I was sitting in jail for a crime that I didn't commit. Are y'all? I've been being forced into jail and forced into legal action since 2016. Being forced to sit in jail for months at a time. In 2018, the same year, my son was killed for a crime I didn't commit. So, if these things are able to happen to me, why would I have a hard time believing what Derek has to say? And even if I didn't believe what Derek has to say, because of everything that I've been through, I'm willing to give it at least a listen. I'm willing to research the documents because I know how easily people lie. Exactly. That pretty girl. 444 people in the building. Can we get the likes to match the views? I just want to know if it's that easy to put me in jail or to put me in a lawsuit, to destroy, defame, disgrace my name for weeks. People sat online calling me all kinds of names, saying all kinds of things about me. And even after I presented the evidence to prove that I couldn't have done it, that there was no way that that was possible, people were still saying, I don't believe you. You faked that. That can't be real. You had to have been, you had to have, you gotta be guilty. I know you're guilty. You forged those court documents. There were content creators that actually went to try to prove that the Chicago record was false. Want to know how they did it? See, I was being held in Dallas on a governor's warrant, waiting to be extradited to Chicago to fight my case. Yeah. So, in order for me to go from one state to another, the sheriffs had to book me out of jail. And then I went into the custody of the Chicago detectives, and then they took me to Chicago to where I was booked in after I was interrogated and told them, here's my proof, here's my paperwork. I have legal custody of my son. They told me, I said, the state seal is on the paperwork. Do you know what the detectives told me? That black woman and that white man, do you know what they told me? Those detectives? Those are probably fakes. I said, well, it's very easy. You can just get on the phone and call the district attorney's office in Dallas, and they can tell you and authenticate for you that these are real. I have legal custody of my child. Here is the paperwork. There is the seal. These documents are real. And they said, we're going to book you anyway. I said, well, then go on ahead and take me to booking. Take me to jail. You're already past your indictment. I'm demanding a speedy trial. Do you know what a speedy trial looked like for me? 4 months. They kept me there just because they could. Just because they could. Yes. I had already proven that I had legal custody of my son. I had the documents. I brought them with me. I made sure they were in my personal custody. Sure did. I showed them the very evidence that I was innocent of the crime that they were charging me with. I tried to sue, and guess what? No lawyer in Chicago would represent me. They weren't going to go up against the state and sue the state because they would have had to sue the state because, see, the officers have qualified immunity. So it didn't matter if they were wrong. It didn't even matter if they were lying. And no law firm wanted to go up against the state. No one would take my case. I want y'all to think about that. I was told that I should consider myself lucky that I beat the case at all. Because there was 2 felony charges they put on me in an election year. And usually when it came to trying women, they got those convictions and they put those state numbers and they collected that money on your head. But no, God said no. See, the defender of freedom speaks volumes. No other content creator can say anything. I think. You want to know what's funny? They put more felonies on me anyway in Dallas for things that I didn't commit. It's wild. They can just keep putting charges on people. They can just keep ruining people's lives. But until the public, until tax-paying citizens, voters demand, until they do that, they get to keep getting away with it. I don't follow stories like Demores and Javon's and Derek because I enjoy being suppressed or stalked or harassed. I do it because if I don't, who will? Because in each of their cases, I can see me. When I think about all that I've lost, all that I've given up, everything to stand in the gap for people that I know people won't believe. Please forgive me. unbelievable. It really is. I could sit here and I could go on and tell you that mm, when I hear people discredit people like Demore and Javon, when I hear people discredit people like Derek's story without even doing any real research or just ignoring the actual evidence that's there, it hits it hits me on such a different level. Such a different level. Oh, because I know how easy it is. See, I know how easy it is for people to just brush it all off. I know how easy it is for people to just turn off the stream and say, "Oh man, did you see that? Can you believe that? Oh, that was terrible. Hey, what are we eating for dinner?" Over in the East, Tintin. You know how much it sucks that I watch people online make thousands upon thousands of dollars lying, and we have to fight and scrap to raise a small modicum of money while they suppress my channels, try to kill my monetization, um, and we're still here. It's very rare people get to see this side of me. But listening to Derek, Auntie Leah, if I could get $1 for every view that I get, I wouldn't need anything. I wouldn't need anything. I'd have enough money to hire the team of lawyers that I need to keep security on deck at all times to be able to operate and maneuver the way I need to. I wish. I wish. And don't get me wrong, a couple hundred here, 1,000 here or there, it does help, but it's not enough. It's not enough. When we decided to put together Cruelty Free Artistry as a nonprofit organization, it was to build something where we could not only help those who need help, but to create a space for people to not have to choose the other side of the game. And and then the stories come. Stories like the Hadleys. Stories like Derek's heartbreaking for me. And you know what? We put what we're doing aside and we get on out to the front line. Because if we don't share these stories, who's going to? If we don't dig a little deeper, who's going to? The truth is, I should be going after Ariel Mitchell Kid and Sean R. Perez for defaming and disgracing and slandering my name, for putting false accounts about me up on Pacer and registering it with a court to destroy me, to destroy my credibility. You want to know what's really sad about it? I have PTSD, complex PTSD, because I'm an actual SA survivor. Because I've been through hell and I've survived it. When I think about all the people that got paid and made money off of watching me be arrested live online, watching me be swatted, like I was literally sitting online making content when 10 officers ran up on the lawn of the house that I was renting a room in, people that I used to be close with and had a scope and the barrel of you know, a large scale firearm pointed at my head. All of that was done to trigger me, to get me to act out so that they could have, and I wouldn't even be here anymore. You know, you know how much money they made in their content? A lot. So here I sit, advocating for others, even though it's it's not helping me. Not financially, not um, every time I do one of these stories, I get suppressed even more. They punish my channels even more. They punish my views even more. They take away my members even more. Yeah, we're still here doing it. Oh no, Michael, I'm getting ready to go because we need to figure out how we're going to share the rest of the evidence that we have. But we wanted to come forward because I felt the need to make sure that there was awareness tonight because I was concerned about Derek. Um, He's being transferred. Hopefully that will work out okay. It was an interesting reason why, but what we're going to do is we're going to keep him in prayer, and we're going to hope to wait to hear from him. But the takeaways for tonight that I want everybody to really sit with. Number one, his default judgment was only set aside because they were busy trying to prove that Sean Combs didn't own any property and wasn't legitimately served for that lawsuit. And we showed you the evidence earlier that he did own property. It was a legitimate serving. It was, which means the default should stand. Um, Not only that, because of the agreement that he had between him and that other state or county, Wayne County official, and Sean Combs, he was granted that property. We showed you the documents in the court filings that he was an actual bad boy investor. And we also have seen and showed you the evidence of, or I don't know, did we show you guys the evidence of the fact that there was an agreement for his investment to stand? Now tell me something. If he's been in prison all this time and he hasn't been paid for any of what he's owed, and all 9 other investors that invested with him back in 1997, all of them are deceased and not him, and he's the only one left. And meanwhile, every time it's time for him to come up for parole, a new charge comes up to make it impossible for him to get out. He's already spent 28 years of his life. When I think about the royalties, when I think about the royalties that Diddy stole from all of his bad boy artists, and then remember at the very last minute, right before he was arrested, right before Cassie's lawsuit dropped, and all of that happened, right before all of that, he gave them back, even though they were worthless and they could collect no money. He made all of the money off of their royalties, and he gave them back worthless, just worthless. It's This is the kind of person that's always looking to get over. This is the kind of person that's always looking to take advantage. This is the kind of person. Why wouldn't we believe that he's been actively trying to screw Derek over so he never has to pay him either? Like, say what you want to say about him, but he's proven, the documents are there, that he was an actual investor. His own hard earned money. And we're going to get into all of that. I just, I do not understand how everyone can have all of this compassion for Sean Combs and nobody care about what happened to Derek Lee Cordello Smith. I don't understand. I don't. It makes no sense to me. You know, oh, Did he apologize? And he said he hates himself and he said he promises he's never going to do it again. And I don't understand. I mean, it's not fair. He's already said he's sorry. All he did was be freaky with his girlfriends. Why can't he be let go? Why can't Derek be let go? The crimes that he actually the crime, not even crimes, the crime that he actually committed. He served enough time for that. Why can't he be released? Why is it that every time it's time for him to get ready to get out of jail, there's another charge from 1997 that just conveniently pops up? How doesn't that look suspect? In 2019, another grape charge was put on him that came all the way from 1997. So you're telling me that his so called victim, alleged victim, who he allegedly abused all the way back in 1997 because he had been in prison the entire time. So, all the way back in 1997, all of a sudden pops up and he's charged with it. And he has to, you want to know what I want to check right now? Let's see. What is the statute of limitation for in Wayne County, Michigan? Mm. Okay. So this is what it says. There is no statute of limitations for grape in Wayne County or the rest of Michigan for certain serious offenses such as first degree criminal sexual conduct. For other criminal sexual conduct, the statute of limitations is generally 10 years from the date of the crime of the victim's 21st birthday, whichever is later. Specific laws and their application can be complex, and it is best to consult with a lawyer. Now, I don't have the charges right in front of me, but that's interesting because statute of limitation for other sexual offenses, 10-year limit. For other cases of criminal sexual conduct, the statute of limitation is generally 10 years from the date. For victims of childhood sexual assault, civil lawsuits can be often filed until age 28. There is no statute of limitation for first degree. So The last case that was put on Derek, I know a little bit about it, and I'm gonna have to do um, a little more research on that particular case. But the thing is, Derek knew that woman. He dated that woman. They had a consensual relationship. Matter of fact, everyone around him, including her, especially when she went to go file a writ for habeas corpus for him on more than one occasion, which was kicked back. They said they couldn't do it and he would have to do it himself. But when the victim comes forward and admits that nothing ever happened, even if it did, was it first degree that he was charged with? Because if it wasn't first degree, judging by what this is saying, the statute of limitations would be 10 years. If they're saying that it happened in 1997, then charging him with it and convicting him of it in 2019, that would be 12 years over the statute. No, no, incarceration can qualify as being told so he can still use. I'm missing part of the conversation. I'm sorry. I lost some of the conversation. I'm sorry, guys. I was so busy reading. What do you mean? No, no, Jag. I'm trying to see. 2019 case. Mm, okay. Okay. Now, see, I remember. I just don't want to mess it up. I got it though. Uh, okay. Okay. Thank you for clearing it up because I don't have, like I said, I don't have the case right in front of me, but from what I remember in conversations with Derek, it was a consensual relationship that I do remember. um but even if that wouldn't, I know she held it from 1997, but if it actually happened in 1997, how do you get to hold something for almost 20 years before actually charging someone with it? That's what I'm trying to understand. Was it first degree? Like, what is it? See, this is the problem that I'm having with a lot of Derek's charges. Charges are being placed, charges are being put on him, but nobody's really being clear on all of the details. And if you have victims saying that it never happened and it was consensual, then I know they held all those great kids. I know. And see, these are the questions that I get upset with. That's confusing. Well, of course it's confusing. It's meant to be confusing. See, that's the thing. They're playing every loophole is being put here. Meanwhile, the stuff is on Derek's record and he's being charged with it and he's being looked at as a monster for it, which is part of the reason why I sat here and I shared some of the things that I've been through with you guys. Because see, I get it because I've been through it. I get it. I've had people accuse me of all kinds of things I'm not guilty of. I get it. I know how easy it is for someone to trash someone's name. Oh, it's definitely meant to gaslight, but not only meant to gaslight, to frustrate you, to push you beyond your limit, to get you to act out of character, hoping that you'll do something so they can charge you for something real. See, the devil is the author of confusion. Yes, he is. I know some people like to play with scripture and make it seem like this and that. LOJ took the words out of my mouth. I literally had to make a mind map. Exactly. Exactly. Yes, to lower your vibration. There's a lot. But guys, let's just take a quick poll before we shut down. Let's just take a quick poll. Put a one in the chat if you believe that Derek's criminal record is accurate. Put a two in the chat if after some of what we've shared with you and talked with you about has cast doubt. Put a one in the chat if you believe Derek has been charged accurately and you believe in the state's case against him. Put a two in the chat if you have doubt in the state's case against him. Welcome back.
What'd you ask for them to do two or three for what?
No, I asked for them to put one in the chat if they believe that the state's charges and record against Derek are accurate. And I asked them to put two if they have doubt that it's accurate.
Okay. Yeah, we're just gonna present what we have, and we're gonna let him say it in his own words, and you guys could be the judge. Because in all honesty, that's really what it is. Let everybody see what it is, and
This isn't about us convincing you. This is about us sharing the information that we're obtaining and that we're examining, sharing it with you and letting you make up your mind for yourself. That's what we do around here. We don't try to convince anybody of anything. The only thing we can do is share the truth with you. I can tell you from my own personal experiences when I see these things and we look at them and we go over all of it, I can tell you why I feel comfortable with having doubt in these things or with why it's easier for me to accept the reality of certain things because I know what's happened to me. See, that's why I get involved in this. I only get involved in things that I can be passionate about because you got to be able to stick with this because the truth is all of this is very exhausting. It is emotionally draining, it's taxing, it's triggering. I mean, for crying out loud, I just sat here and I just broke down in tears crying in front of you guys. I literally just broke down in tears crying in front of you guys. And it's been a long time since I've been emotional like that on camera. Like I haven't well, listen to me, Auntie Leah, I hear what you're saying. But you know what though? Sometimes we need to be interested in people's past because sometimes that's where we'll find the truth. See, in order for me to properly assess what's going on with Derek, we had to go all the way back to the beginning, didn't we? We had to go all the way back to the beginning. Are you there? Or did we lose you?
I'm here.
Oh, um, I mean, there's a whole lot more to my past than that, Auntie Leah. You, we all need to be more interested in why certain people are targeted What exactly is it that someone did to deserve that kind of negative legal attention? And God bless you. And I appreciate that. See, that's the thing. I don't ask anybody to follow me blindly down dark hallways without a flashlight. I don't do that. All I can do is be myself, be honest with you. Man, there are certain things that people have seen online. And if I told you the truth about it, it would blow your mind. But now isn't the time. See, there's certain things that I've allowed to ride to test people's actual resolve. Sometimes I let people accept what they think is the worst of me. The question is how do you know if it's real? You know, when I think back to 2023 and the way I was targeted and everything that I went through, I saw what was happening. I saw what was going on. And I was stuck between a rock and a hard place, and I had to find my way out of it. So I had to play along. How how would it make y'all feel if I told you that 80% of what y'all saw me do in 2018 was an act? It was an act. It was me playing them while they were trying to play me. A lot of people can't even imagine having the resolve to be able to go through that amount of chaos, that amount of lies, that amount of just all of it, the gaslighting, all of it. Because the truth is, if I hadn't have gone through all of it, I couldn't have proved that it was real. See, what I've also learned when it comes to this whole crazy thing, losing a child, I don't know if you never get over it. I know it stays with you forever. It evolves. And if you're strong enough, it will evolve you. A lot of the things that I've chosen to take on because of my son's passing. There'll never be a time where what happened to my son will not be a part of my everyday life in one way, shape, or form or another. What I will say is that it means something different every year that passes on. And you can either choose to use it as fuel to do something better in the world, or you can let it destroy you. For the first 6 months after Giovanni passed away, I was content with the idea of possibly letting it destroy me. I was. I was, I felt guilty for surviving. I felt guilty for still being alive. And then I realized that it's God's will. And that happened to me. That happened in my life for me to learn from it. As terrible as it is, as terrible a lesson as it is to learn. And it pushed me. It pushed me to challenge the things that I wasn't willing to challenge before. Yeah, it's God's will. You can't argue with God's will, but you can live for it. You can learn to respect it. You know, what do you got to say before we get out of here?
I don't have too much to say. I don't it's every day I guess it's sad. Well, I see real life just did a clip of you. It says Jaguar Wright shows paperwork, court records. So shout out to them for highlighting and showing what it is that trying to get out. But yeah, it's time to you know put it out there, you guys. Just let everybody hear what he has to say in total. Was more or less concerned for his safety, because
Right now.
when you're in greater confinements, they can do anything um, to you. Don't get it twisted, y'all. Just because we are so-called free on the outside world, you're still in confinements, right? This is still a confinement. It's called freedom. Y'all know the history and the science behind the Statue of Liberty. That was well, I think that was like an androgynous man that was the statue, but the French gave it to the uh, United States after, or they made it, or after during the Civil War. She's supposed to have chains instead of a damn a staff of, I mean, the light, the light bearer or whatever. Um, this country is still we still a bunch of damn prisoners. I'll just say it like that. So this man is in greater confinements, and they're just running game on him. They're running game on him. It's like we are in confinement still, and we allow certain people just run game on us. I really ain't got too much to say. I just say, when you recognize a game's being played on, you just call it out, like Mr. Smith is doing, and we all need to call it out.
Man, you know, Derek lost his son while he's been in jail. He had a son that passed away in a car wreck on his way to go visit him. We all lose along the way. The question is what do we learn and what do we share? It's been an eventful evening. We're gonna get ready to shut it down. We wanted to get some of this out of here. And we wanted to share some of it with you because the truth is, I think we're going to, yeah, yep. Derek is ex-military. Mm-hmm. Sure is strong, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't hurt. Strong people still feel hurt. We still feel pain. Just deal with it different. We wanted to get it out there because we weren't sure about his safety. And the truth is, the louder we can make his message, it might help bring safety in some way, shape, or form. We weren't sure. We didn't want to make things worse for him. But we got to fight it out. We got to fight it out for him. And we're going to keep on doing that. Just please remember to keep everyone who we bring to you in your prayers. And I guess tomorrow we can come back and do the official Hadley update, make sure that everyone gets all the information that's not being shared. Yay or nay?
Let's do that.
Because we've been here for a while. It's been kind of an eventful day today. Um, I guess my last words would be never take anything for granted. Hold on to everything that you love dearly. And pray for somebody who has it worse than you. Pray for a victim, pray for a survivor. And we're going to steer in. Welcome, Taylor. We're going to steer in. I hope that God will use this channel as a miracle. Thank you, Corey. I think God's going to do that, and we're going to keep walking that line, and we're going to keep standing up, and we're going to keep sharing, and we're going to keep doing what we do because that's what we do here. We can't really talk about what everybody else does everywhere else, but what we do here is we choose to be the miracle. We choose to stare into the crash. We choose to embrace what's going on and put it in God's hands, knowing that God can take it and turn it into something so much greater than what it started out as. That's what we do here. So on that note, I'm Jaguar Wright. That's Wolfgang Amadeus, also known as Set in the West. Doc Anna Set in the West LA here on YouTube. We want to thank all of you for spending this time with us tonight, and please keep Derek in your prayers. And we're going to figure out how we can continue to what are my thoughts on Biggie and Pac getting justice? What do you want me to say? They've been waiting for justice almost as long as Derek has. Let's stay vigilant in all things. That's what I say. So yeah, on that note, that's about it, right?
That's it.
Until next time. We'll see you guys soon. I think we're gonna come back tomorrow and do a Hadley update and yeah, share a little bit more what we got going on. Yeah, good night, guys. Peace.